Nothing spells the end of free speech quite like being arrested for shitposting online. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Count Dankula and his girlfriend's Nazi pug, who was a very bad dog. If you're like me, you probably had no idea who the hell this guy even was until the British media started flipping their collective shits about how offensive he is. It's ironic, really, because the Scottish police are convinced that this guy is so offensive that he's a danger to society. And yet no one knew who the hell he was until they arrested him and decided to make a spectacle out of it. To better understand this story, let me take you back to April of 2016. When Scottish YouTuber Count Dankula, aka Mark Meacham, decided he wanted to troll his girlfriend. Not wanting his memes to just be dreams, he recorded the process and put it on YouTube. The result was a video titled "Mate, Your Dog's a Nazi," which he set up with this premise.
My girlfriend is always ranting and raving about how cute and adorable her wee dog is, and so I thought I would turn him into the least cute thing that I could think of, which is a Nazi.
The rest of the video showed Buddha the pug undergoing rigorous Nazi training, including learning to become moderately excited by mass genocide.
Do you want to gas the Jews? Do you want to gas the Jews? Do you want to gas the Jews? Gas the Jews? Jews.
And how to execute proper Sieg Heil form.
Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil!
The video went viral, and 17 days later the police showed up on Dankula's doorstep claiming he had committed a hate crime under Section 127 of the UK's Communications Act, a law that prohibits electronic communications that are, quote, grossly offensive or of an indecent, obscene, or menacing character. Bonus points if the offensive message is intended to cause annoyance, inconvenience, or needless anxiety.
Ooh, that's a bingo!
And if that's not enough to cause you needless anxiety, it turns out that the grossly offensive message in question doesn't actually need to be sent or even directed at the people it's offending. Just the fact that the video exists at all is what makes it a violation of the law. The fact that he included this disclaimer,
I'm not a racist, by the way, I just really wanted to piss her off,
is apparently of no consequence. Because you see, only the government can decide if you're really a racist. The court's argument is that the dog's behavior required so much intense training that the actual intention of the video could only be anti-Semitic propaganda that Dankula disguised in the body of a tiny pup in order to make it more acceptable to a mass audience. Yeah, that's the actual argument that was made in court. Because, you know, you see a dog propped up in front of a Hitler video, and you just say, yeah man, that's a great idea. And then the only natural progression of events after that is to go join your local neo-Nazi meeting and go get a swastika tattooed on your face. I mean, if anyone here should be arrested, it should be the dog, because clearly he's the real Nazi. Dankula is really just a victim of Buddha the Nazi pug's mind control tactics. After all, the dog is the propaganda agent that the UK government says is capable of convincing the general population that Nazism is cool. Fast forward to 2 years later and the court case is somehow still going. It's been delayed over and over and over again, largely due to prosecutors filibustering and lobbying for a worse set of charges that could include a harsher sentence of up to 5 years in prison. Thankfully, that request was denied, but on March 20th, Meacham was found guilty of being, quote, grossly offensive under Section 127. Meacham argued in court that the video was just a joke and that he's already suffered consequences from it. He's lost his job, he's been unable to get another one, and he's actually been getting death threats from Antifa and other far-left groups. He pointed out that comedians make offensive jokes all the time, even in Scotland, but you don't see any of them getting arrested because their offensive content is set on a stage instead of online. He also argued that context and intent matter, but all of that just fell on deaf ears. The judge presiding over the case accused Count Dankula of specifically choosing the phrase "gas the Jews" in the video, quote, because it was the most offensive phrase associated with the Nazis that he could think of, which apparently forfeited Dank's right to freedom of expression. As for sentencing, that was delayed again to April 23rd, and I've read speculations that he could receive anything from 90 days to a full year in jail. Over a joke on YouTube. Until then, Meacham was ordered to be evaluated by a court social worker to determine if he's so dangerous that he needs to be put on house arrest with a fancy GPS bracelet, because that's not extreme at all. I mean, he's clearly so dangerous that while the video has been restricted, it still hasn't even been deleted from YouTube. He hasn't lost his account, and he still has his YouTube partner status running ads on other videos. Even YouTube, the reigning champion of social media censorship, doesn't seem to care, and yet the UK is denouncing him as a menace to society and attempting to send this guy to jail because they don't get the joke. But many people have come out in support of Meacham. Jewish people, comedians, Jewish comedians. It seems that the main force behind Dankula's conviction is a few offended people on Twitter, and Ephraim Borowski, the director of the Scottish Council of Jewish Communities. Borowski testified in court literally saying that Dankula should be punished because Borowski felt personally offended. If anyone should be offended by the video, it should be real Nazis, because the whole point of the joke is that Nazis are the absolute worst thing in the world. But Borowski somehow interpreted the joke as Dankula purposefully trying to offend Jewish people. He even suggested that the video was part of an evil plot to gas football stadiums full of Jewish people. And somehow the court didn't just decide that this guy was nuts. This ruling sets a very dangerous precedent. Borowski claims that the act of joking about anything like the Holocaust or Nazis is racist and normalizes racism and terrorism. The judge said that freedom of speech comes with responsibility and argued that if you're not responsible, you don't get free speech. And it seems like every news story about the case is marked with trigger warnings about graphic and offensive content. You know, the warnings usually reserved for scenes of gore or rape or unspeakable violence. Such views on this case open the door for any joke to be labeled a hate crime, even when there's no actual victim. It opens the door for anyone to be able to decide what they think is offensive and then get government thugs to jail someone over it. The people of the UK should be enraged that this case not only went to court, but was dragged out for 2 years. What it comes down to is that Count Dankula was convicted because of wrongthink. His own intentions were irrelevant because a court felt that they understood his intentions better than he did. What actually happened doesn't matter because someone, somewhere, felt offended and threatened by a dog. That is your Liberty-related news for the week. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you really like my videos and want to help support my channel, you can do so over at Patreon or through a one-time donation through PayPal or Bitcoin. Until next time, thanks for watching and helping me to spread the message of liberty.